But while arguments rage over the risks footballers will face playing in Qatar's extreme heat, migrant workers from Nepal are dying on the job in record numbers. This summer, the bodies of scores of migrant workers in Qatar have been flown home to their families in Nepal. Despite assurances from the World Cup organizers that workers' rights will be respected, these deaths are just the worst examples of the exploitation and abuse which is rife in Qatar's construction industry. This glittering world is built by men who live in a very different one.
त्यही हो प्रब्लम भनेको त्यही हो यहाँ हाम्रो अब त्यो टॉयलेट बाथरूम हेर्दाखेरि त्यस्तै छ केही त्यसको सफाइ छैन हैन सब उस्तै छ यहाँ 12 एक रुममा चाहिँ 12 14 जना मान्छे हालेछ हैन 2 वर्ष भएको हामीले बेडै सिट दिए छैन भन्छ आफै किनेर ल्याऊ.
These labor camps on the outskirts of the capital Doha are home to thousands of migrant workers. In this camp, over 600 men share just 2 kitchens.
किचन भन्नुहुन्छ भने तपाईहरु गरे हेर्न साध्य छैन त्यहाँ. यति मच्छरहरु र यति सांगलाहरु कीटाणुहरु झिंगाहरु त्यहाँ भन्क्या हुन्छ त्यो झिंगा खानामा बसिन्छ त्यही कारणले मान्छे नि बिमार हुन्छ.
Nepalese make up the highest numbers but lowest paid migrant laborers in Qatar. They are victims of a state-run sponsorship system which binds each worker to a single employer. They cannot leave their job or even the country without their employer's permission. This system, combined with the huge debts most workers owe in Nepal, leaves them trapped, especially if they find themselves with jobs and salaries very different to what they were promised.
Being there in that Guardian report, most people looking ahead to Brazil 2014, but even further than that is Qatar 2022. That's when the FIFA World Cup will be held, 9 years from now. And already Qatar making headlines across the globe, as you saw in that Guardian exclusive. That's a UK Guardian. Well, joining us on the phone now is a gentleman who writes for the Qatar Gulf News, Anil John. Anil, thanks for joining us on the SportsMax Zone. Let me ask you, I'm assuming that people in Qatar have seen or heard about that Guardian report. What's been the response?
Well, the response has been that, basically that some of the stuff in the Guardian report has been exaggerated, in the sense that, the World Cup preparations, in fact, the construction for the World Cup is yet to start in Qatar, basically. All the construction is expected to start in, say, next year or probably, So this is the past, and, Qatar has always said that they are working towards it. They are working towards, establishing stricter controls on the recruitment of workers from Nepal and other places. So, it's a work in progress, and this Qatari society is an evolving society, so to speak. So it's not a perfect society.
But the problem is, if it is rife in the construction industry, obviously the construction industry is going to be very much involved in building stadia, facilities for the 2022 World Cup. Is it expected that by the time the World Cup is thought about more seriously by Qatar, that this problem will have been eradicated?
That's what they are promising, basically. The problems lie with basically 2 or 3 companies who are seen to be exploiting their workers. It's not across the board in the sense.
Do we know if any of those companies are involved in World Cup contracts?
No, the contracts are yet to be given out, in fact. When a stadium is built, for example, there is just not one contract. There are literally dozens of contracts, Someone supplies the labor, someone supplies the material, someone supplies the design. So, there's lots of people involved in that process. So, what we're looking at is basically, labor contractors and stuff, and people who actually directly deal with labor.
Have there been any concerns expressed by FIFA to Qatar officials?
I'm sure they must have done it, and Qatar has also, basically come up with the statement saying that they'll be seriously looking into these allegations and, will try their best to rectify that as soon as possible.
Well, since Qatar won the bid over more traditional footballing countries, Japan and so on, Australia, the USA have raised concerns. First, about the heat in summer, which has forced FIFA to suggest that they want to hold it in winter. Other countries have said, well, that interferes with their domestic leagues and so on. Is there another alternative to winter, summer? First of all, we heard about air-conditioned stadia and so on. Is that off the table now?
No, in fact, just about 10 minutes ago, the Qatar World Cup committee, they issued a statement saying that they are ready to host the World Cup at any time the international football community wants it to. I mean, that speaking ahead of tomorrow's meeting in Zurich, where it could be decided that if the World Cup will be moved to winter. What Qatar is saying basically is that, look, we bid for a summer World Cup, but if everyone wants it to hold in the winter, then we are ready to do that.
There's also concerns, although this seems to be the least of them, that a population of less than 2 million people might not be able to fill the stadia for the World Cup. Obviously, there should be an influx of football fans. Is that a concern for the Qatar authorities?
See, it shouldn't be a concern. Why? Because when Qatar bid for the World Cup, although they were the host, they also said that they're bidding it for the entire Muslim world or the entire Middle East, basically, because this is the first time the World Cup is coming to this region. So they expect hundreds of thousands of fans from the nearby countries like, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. There are many countries close by, okay? Yes. And Qatar being, it lies geographically between, say, the US and Europe, so it's a convenient place for even Europeans to come over in large numbers. It's just a 5 or 6 hour flight from London, basically.
Right.
And other places. So they are looking at a lot of tourists, and they're trying to open up stuff, and make things easy for people to come in.
No, you're going to have to build a number of stadiums in order to accommodate the World Cup. What happens to those after the World Cup, given that you have such a small population?
Well, they have this legacy planning. Some of those stadiums could be dismantled and shipped off to developing countries, so that they can have have good stadiums. So they have a solid legacy program.
And am I to understand that almost a city is going to be created to host the World Cup?
You could say that, because Qatar is a very small country, and some of the areas are still being developed. And whenever there's a development comes up, it's named as a city. For example, you have a sports city, you have an education city. So it's not like a city like London or New York, basically.
All right, we're talking to Anil John of the Qatar Gulf News, and we'll do that after this short break on The Zone.
Hello.